Welcome to the program. And this afternoon, the NDC's Ayawaso East parliamentary candidate-elect Baba Jamal appeared before a three-member committee set up by the party to probe allegations of vote buying that marred the constituency's parliamentary primaries as the clock ticks towards the committee's deadline tomorrow, February 10th. We will shortly hear from a member of the committee on the latest developments from today's hearing. And earlier, the chairperson of the Africa Union Advisory Board Against Corruption, Edem Senanu, described the probe as a positive step toward electoral accountability in addressing the growing menace of vote buying in the country.
Thrown meritocracy and competency out of the window, and it's about who has the most money and cash to dole out, and that's extremely unsatisfactory. It definitely would not augur well for our nation and for those who occupy positions of trust if we keep voting people who is just simply about the money. That then ends up with elite capture. I mean, the rich take over the authority, the governance, and they only serve their own business interest and private interest. That definitely should not be the way we want to go. And I'm happy that people have taken note, and there's this call for let's rethink what is going on. I'm absolutely impressed by the NDC's posture. This is the kind of thing we want to see. The internal processes where the president has said, I'm calling this gentleman back. We have an internal committee established. I wish that the NPP would immediately also take those kinds of actions. I mean, these ethical things are what, for the large majority of Ghanaians, begin to show seriousness about leading this nation in the right direction. My only caution to the NDC would be that those internal investigations should not compromise in any way the criminal investigation of the OSP. So they need to liaise with the OSP. They need to make sure the actions they take don't turn eventually create a scenario where the OSP's work is undermined, and therefore whatever conclusive actions they need to take from the OSP's side cannot be executed. Yeah, those would be my initial comments.
All right. So first of all, what do you make of the swift nature with which the NDC dealt with this particular matter? I mean, the presidency has spoken, the party has spoken now, majority caucus in parliament is speaking. Is it a good sign, and do you see sincerity in there?
Yeah, I do, and it's highly commendable. I mean, I've watched His Excellency the President stand by his commitment to good governance and anti-corruption over and over again. I mean, last year I was very concerned when Parliament suddenly said, scrap the office of the Special Prosecutor, get rid of his occupant. I was like, what are these politicians up to? You know? I mean, in crafting Act 959, it was especially because of the political class who don't want to be accountable and who with impunity are leading us in directions that, in spite of all the resources that we have as a nation, we are not seeing progress. So I was really disappointed in some of those commentaries. But the president stood firm and said, no, it's too early. Is this not the time to be talking about this? This is something we fought for. It was as if we had forgotten our own history. I've watched him, you know, from that point, and I think that the actions being taken today, the swift response, where it's not about what happened in a previous election or not. We find this to be wrong. We're going to investigate. We're going to take action. Those are the kind of things that we want to see in the good governance and anti-corruption space. So it's a very good sign for us, and I hope that they continue on that trajectory. It demonstrates ethical leadership, where you know what is right, you want to do what is right, and you influence everybody else to do what is right. And I find it highly commendable.
That's anti-corruption campaigner Edem Senanu. Meanwhile, the NPP's Deputy General Secretary, Haruna Mohammed, says he disagrees, arguing that the probe into the alleged vote buying lacks sincerity and is driven by hostility from the presidency and the majority toward the eventual winner, Baba Jamal.
What the NDC did is populism. Just populism, nothing else. You see, if Baba Jamal is being alleged to have committed those particular actions, and he has won elections as the candidate, he was coming home anyway. He was already coming home. It is populism.
What is populism? Well, I don't get it.
Populism.
As in what? What did the NDC do?
Because the man had won the elections and already he was coming home. He wouldn't have been the ambassador or a high commissioner again. So sacking him or recalling him was unnecessary. It is populism. Again, it is a clear chance telling the people of Ghana that the presidency were not happy that Asedun Ketia person had won the elections. And all the machinery are against Baba Jamal. They don't just like the man. They hate him, including the parliament, the majority caucus. I don't know what he has done for him to be hated so much like that within the cycles of the NDC. But as for this particular vote buying issue, this is just the beginning. The worst of it is coming because they will go into their internal contest and they will move into the presidential primaries. You will see what the NDC is going to do. All the resources that have been allocated to the prime ministries, all the big ministries, and the monies that the finance minister is not.
Haruna Mohammed is the Deputy General Secretary of the opposition NPP. Let's interrogate this issue. And joining me on the telephone line right now is government spokesperson Felix Kwakye Ofosu. Mr. Ofosu, grateful for your time this afternoon. The minority is questioning the sincerity of this probe. They're arguing that it is driven by animosity from the presidency and the majority toward Baba Jamal. How do you respond to that?
Well, that argument makes little to no sense. And I'm surprised that it is being proposed as a serious matter for consideration. It is so illogical. It is difficult to make the head a tail. I wonder why you are even indulging the NPP to make that argument. I think that the platform and persons seeking to air their views will do so with some respect for your viewership. How is it the case that President Mahama has appointed Mr. Baba Jamal as High Commissioner to Nigeria, which is perhaps the most significant post in the whole of East Africa? And at the same time, President Mahama is supposed not to know. I mean, why would he appoint him to become a prominent position if he didn't like him? The fact is that some unsightly incidents have happened, and the president has made it clear that he will not countenance that happen, and therefore he has taken disciplinary action against his opponent. That is all that has happened. And that disciplinary action is without prejudice to any other action that is the NDC they wish to take regarding this. That is all that has happened. So all this conjecture and ridiculous somersault by the NPP must be dismissed for what it makes little to no sense, to be honest with you.
And Felix, others have also raised concerns about the timing of his recall, suggesting it was immaterial since Baba Jamal would have eventually resigned anyway. What is your response to that?
Baba Jamal, by law, is not required to resign until he has won the parliamentary by-election. So his mere victory in the just ended primary did not mean that he was going to resign. There was no indication that he was going to resign. As I indicated, there's no law that bars him from holding the office of High Commissioner up until the time that he was elected Member of Parliament. So then again, the NPP's claims make little to no sense. And the reason why it does not make sense is that it is not a sincere. They just want to waste our time and make accusations just to disrupt the peace and quiet that we expect.
And why didn't the government ask him to step aside the moment he declared his intention to contest this primaries? Others are also asking those questions.
Just a minute ago, there is no law that bars him from contesting as he held the position of High Commissioner. I am a Minister of State. If there are primaries today, they can contest in those primaries without having to resign. Indeed, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, who we all affectionately call, was a member of Parliament from Nigeria when he was nominated as running mate Dr. Baumia in the 2024 elections. He didn't resign. He resigned only after he did not contest the election, but he did not resign as a member of Parliament. So if for the lofty office of vice president, an MP who is holding office can contest in an election. Why is it a problem if I have to contest in a primary? Of course, the moment he makes it rule and becomes a member of parliament for the good people of Ayawaso East, he will be required to resign because he cannot hold good. That is what.
And Felix, going forward, how does this government intend to deal with the persistent issue of vote buying, especially with your party's primaries also approaching?
Of course, the president has shown them, he has declared his intent on how he's going to deal with such happenings. The party has also indicated that it's not going to countenance that behavior. And the OSP has also launched investigation into the whole matter. So it shows you clearly that there are clear mechanisms that are in place to deal with such happenings.
And is government also launching its independent investigation into this?
There's a state agency that is investigating the matter. So the government is not required to conduct additional investigations. It is a party that has the right to conduct additional investigations, which the party is doing at the moment. You yourself have disclosed a while ago that they held their first meeting today.
And Felix, finally, before we go, Joy News has a latest documentary titled A Tax for Galamsey, and that particular documentary uncovers how illegal miners are compelled to pay fixed registration fees of 3,000 Ghana cedis per chamfine machines and tens of thousands per excavators in exchange for uninterrupted operations. Some officials have been cited in that particular documentary. We've been showing excerpts of it, and the full documentary is going to be airing on Joy News. I want to first find out from you, have you cited our latest documentary?
Well, Carlos, ethically, you are required to notify on the subjects over which you want to interview. So it is not fair and proper in the middle of an interview on a matter that we have agreed to throw in a question completely unrelated. Number two, I don't think it's also fair and proper to comment on aspects of a documentary. It is best to see the entire documentary, then we can make appropriate pronouncements. Number four, any activity related to Galamsey is criminal. So once evidence comes to light that some individuals are engaged in criminal conduct, the law will take its course, the same way that the law is taking its course in the contaminating case involving Never to be and 2 or 3 others. So that's what I have to say. One need to read the investigation and we see what is contained. We'll be in a position to take necessary action.
All right, Felix, apologies for not informing you earlier. We know of your tight schedule. That is why we felt it was a good opportunity to, chip this in. But as you've mentioned to us, you are yet to see that particular documentary, but I've mentioned excerpts of it. And you are assuring us that government is going to take this matter seriously and all those implicated will be dealt with, correct?
Of course, once evidence comes to light of wrongdoing, it will be taken up. As I speak to you, a prominent figure in the Ghanaian society, Bernard Nchibosi, who was the regional chairman of the NPP of the Ashanti region, is standing trial over allegations of involvement. So it shows you clearly that it doesn't matter who's office for. Once there is evidence of wrongdoing in respect of Galamsey, the law will take its course. And the president has made that on many occasions.
Felix Kwachiofosu is government spokesperson. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon. And meanwhile, the documentary that I was talking about will air later. But Joy News investigations have revealed that some delegates allegedly received cash payments of over 1,000 cedis alongside television sets, motorcycles, transportation and other inducements in exchange for votes. First, a recap of the Ayawaso East NDC parliamentary election day.
The election day for the NDC's parliamentary primaries in Ayawaso East opened with intense campaigning and jubilation among delegates aligned to the various aspirants. The candidates themselves not left out.
You can see 37% are undecided. So today, after 4 o'clock, we will see the undecided. They will make a decision, and if it goes our way, alhamdulillah.
Voting began at about 9 a.m. with heavy police presence in and around the voting center.
We blocked the main road, so obviously we need to check that cars are not coming in. Where should the alternative routes that have been given so that they go there. So
midway through the process, one of the aspirants, Dr. Azindo, accused a rival contender, Baba Jamal, of vote buying.
If you were in this constituency, you have heard that last night it wasn't easy. I mean, people were cutting deals, people were moving here and there, and I think that in a way will eat into my win. But obviously, at the end of the day, what matters is a win.
When questioned over the allegations, this was Baba Jamal's response.
So if you give television sets to people, what is wrong with it when you gift things to people? Is this the first time I'm gifting things to people? I have been, those of you who know me, know that every Christmas, every occasion, every instant, I have put down 2.5 million to give free loans to people.
Then came the time for the counting of the votes. Tension and uneasiness set in among the aspirants. At the end of the exercise, Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, Baba Jamal Mohammed Ahmed, emerged victorious, polling 431 votes to become the NDC's parliamentary candidate for Ayawaso East.
I therefore declare Baba Jamal Ahmed as the parliamentary candidate.
AGS commitment for the party, for the community remains unchanged.
The outcome marks a historic moment in Ghana's political history, as it is the first time the wife of a late member of parliament has lost an election while contesting to succeed her late husband.
From Ayawaso East, I am Stephen Mensah for Joy News.
Well, thank you, Stephen. We can now listen to some delegates on calls for annulment of the results.
Very huge amount of money being given to a delegate with television because someone wants a vote.
But didn't you take some yourself?
I was given as transportation fee, and I took it.
How much? How much was that?
It was huge.
Very huge.
It was given to me.
But what would be the minimum? What would be?
Oh, I was giving much money.
Will you reach 1,000 cedis?
Hey, 1,000 is small.
1,000 cedis is small.
It's small.
Is it from just one camp or all the camps?
Money was given.
Money was given, but for you, was it from just one candidate or from all the candidates?
That was what was given to me. I'm telling you about what was given to me.
If you know that the people like you, if you know you've worked, why do you give gifts on the day of election to change people's mind to go in your favor? It's so bad. So the country should look at it and do well about that too.
Oh, so you are aware of the gifts given to...
Oh, yes. We are all aware. We saw people giving televisions, people giving motorbikes, people giving money and other stuffs.
If you were in this constituency, you have heard that last night it wasn't easy. I mean, people were cutting deals, people were moving here and there, and I think that in a way will eat into my win. But
the NDC has released a statement indicating that they've started investigations into some alleged vote buying. Are you aware of such incidents?
Oh, of course, we all saw what happened in the morning. We know of people from outside of our constituency who are trying in one way or the other to ensure that certain votes are reduced and all of.
And we know that in the last 24 hours, the majority in Parliament and the Office of the Special Prosecutor both issued statements calling for the annulment of the elections and the commencement of investigations into the alleged vote buying.
The allegations of vote buying in the Saturday election have drawn multiple reactions from various levels of the NDC and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. First was a statement signed by General Secretary Fifi Fiafikwete condemning the action, describing it as an affront to the values and principles of the party and the reset agenda championed by President John Mahama. The party subsequently formed a 3-member committee chaired by former Minister for Information Totobi Kwache. The other 2 members are former Tamale Central MP Inusa Fuseni and lawyer MFA Fuga, who are expected to present the outcome of their investigation by Tuesday, February 10, 2026. The majority caucus in Parliament also followed suit with the party's condemnation, but this time went a notch higher. They are calling for a complete annulment of the election results and for any candidate who is implicated in the vote-buying allegations to be banned from contesting in a rerun of the primaries. Meanwhile, President John Dramani Mahama has also, acting on the outcome of the election, withdrawn Baba Jamal as Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, a position he held since 2025, until he took leave to campaign for the elections 2 weeks ago. Aside from the disciplinary actions taken by the NDC, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has also commenced investigations into the vote-buying allegations and to also establish the source of funding for the menace. The OSP in that statement has also revealed that one of its officers was allegedly attacked by thugs aided by Baba Jamal. The case is also investigated as the office abhors corruption in elections, describing it as a serious offense. Baba Jamal has since denied all the allegations and indicated readiness to cooperate with the investigation. Meanwhile, the OSP's investigation into the alleged vote buying is also extended to the NPP presidential primaries of January 31.
And responding to the allegation of vote buying, anti-corruption campaigners, including Edem Senanu of the AU Advisory Board Against Corruption and Paul Mensah Brampa of the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, say the incidents raise serious concerns about integrity of the electoral process in Ghana.
We should allow due process, because we can't pronounce guilt while the court have not said so. If the investigation so shows that, in fact, there was exchange of money, these things have influence on the outcome, then the court will judge. But I don't support we taking decision before the court judgments come out. So that's why I said we need to allow the due process of law to take its course.
We have thrown meritocracy and competency out of the window, and it's about who has the most money and cash to dole out, and that's extremely unsatisfactory. It definitely will not augur well for our nation and for those who occupy positions of trust if we keep voting people who is just simply about the money. That then ends up with elite capture. I mean, the rich take over the authority, the governance, and they only serve their own business interest and private interest. That definitely should not be the way we want to. And I'm happy that people have taken note, and there's this call for let's rethink what is going on.
And there's been more reaction coming in, and a fraud prevention expert and security analyst, Richard Kumado, has been outlining the type of evidence investigators will need to secure convictions in cases such as this.
Very simple. We have a situation where delegates who receive some of this money from last week Saturday, from 2 weeks ago, are coming out publicly to say, I received 3,000, I received 4,000, I received 1,000 cedis and 500, and these are other goods I have received. It means that delegates are willing to speak to cameras and to the TV crew. It wouldn't be a problem for investigators to speak to some of these delegates who came out publicly to speak. But we don't need a soothsayer, a prophet, to tell us that political party activity funding has been a major problem. And those who receive some of these monies are people who live with us, and they are willing to give an account any day, anytime investigators may need it.
Let's bring the conversation even home and closer. So the person who is at the center of this controversy, Baba Jamal, says that he has set aside 2.5 million cedis as to give out as loan to people or constituents. What's your reaction?
Was he running Susu or was he running the microfinance?
Question for the gods.
Yeah, so you see, I have followed issues of fraud. I have investigated fraud. I have investigated money laundering and financial crime for a very long time, over 20 years. So I understand some of these things. When I set up the Independent Election Security and Compliance Watches, one of the non-compliance we have observed across the globe is not just election officers bastardizing the process and not doing what is right, but it's also about inducement. And people have various schemes of doing it. They use NGOs related to themselves or their close cronies. People have used schemes, and people have used all manner of methods to infuse making sure that elections go their way. And if we begin to interrogate and investigate the cases properly, then you could see that somebody might have had a long-term agenda They might have given ambulances for people to be used to bury their loved ones. They might have set up churches for them. They might have set up NGOs and loan schemes. And these are some of the schemes they use. And it's unfortunate, though, but that is what it is.
Well, so the focus so much is on the person that gets the money or the inducements. What's your take on delegates who as well who receive it? What role are they playing?
We have to change the law. Once we change the law to say that inter-party elections go straightly with the national elections, that fraud and bribery becomes a crime, then the receiver can also be held accountable.
Did you know that some videos circulating on social media falsely claiming to be from Joy News and advertising some drugs are fakes? These fake videos advertise unapproved medicines using deep fakes of our presenters to endorse these medicines. Here's one example.
Blood pressure exceeds 120/80, internal organs are affected, and a stroke occurs. A famous doctor has developed a drug that's
part of the committee that has been tasked to probe the happenings in the Ayawaso East NDC parliamentary elections that took place over the weekend. Let's now bring in a political scientist, Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochere. He's a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast. Grateful for your time this afternoon. What is your assessment of the vote buying allegations and the manner in which the NDC has responded to them? Do I still have Dr. Asante Ochere on the line?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. I was asking what you make of the vote buying allegations and how the NDC as a party has been reacting to this.
Well, I'll start by saying that this is probably the very first time that the two main parties, one at the national level, has decided to look into this particular issue. And of course, there is not a single soul within our body politics that will say that they are clean when it comes to this voter inducement, whether you call it vote buying or whichever way you look at it. It has virtually become a subculture, but I think that the decision that the NDC has taken is quite good. They have made everybody understand that it is something that they really frown upon, and that the act is condemnable in whichever form, or kind. And so it is a decision that is, for me, a good one. This is not to suggest that anybody is guilty before the issues are dealt with. I believe that at the end of the day, we should be able to see a report that in the eyes of the public, is worth reading. That apart, we may have to condemn everybody. It is not a single person that got involved in such a situation. It is probably the case that other pockets are more deeper than others, and that is probably the more reason why this has become a problem. But if you look at what happened, 31st of January, obviously things of that nature were everywhere. The delegate themselves, one particular interviewee, told, I think, from your station or another sister station, that he received 5 different transportation. So I don't know which part is going that you will have to receive such 5 different transportation fares. But that being said, I'm of the view that the decision of the party at the national level is good. At least they have shown concern. The presidency also have, shown concern. I've heard people say that, well, it is just a matter of time that he was going to tender in his resignation. That is true. But on his public record, it shows that he did not resign, out of his own volition. He was relieved of that particular position. And that in itself is punitive.
Dr. Asante Ochere, we've had the likes of the NPP questioning the sincerity of the NDC's actions. They are arguing that Baba Jamal is being scapegoated because he's not the favored candidate. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, that is a conspiracy theory that they are at liberty to turn out. Well, in the deep throat, I've heard that Baba Jamal is supposed to be Mr. Katir's, protege, whether it is true or not, and that's the more reason why he's been hounded. These are all conspiracy theories. But on the face of it, what transpired is condemnable. As to the decision that everybody will want to take, well, that one only time will tell. But the conspiracy theories here and there, well, those who are, who are, how do I call it, who have deep throat into party affairs, probably may want to ruffle some feathers here and there. But if that is the case, then obviously it creates that kind of innermost, animosity. There is that inner animosity as far as the caucus is concerned. And so I believe, I still want to suggest that the party has really done well by setting up a committee, that they are even ready to bring the report by tomorrow. That means that it is not like other parties where they deny, even when delegates have accepted and they've put on television that I got this, I got that. We saw, the primaries when NPP was in power. I mean, the money everywhere. So they are equally guilty. They are equally guilty. But maybe there is the need for us to start from somewhere and see how best we can nip some of these things in the bud, because it doesn't really augur well for our democracy. Because this is an unsustainable, thing or activity that most politicians have been doing. Perhaps they see it as one-off, but the delegate will have to bear in mind that whatever they have taken, if the person finds himself or herself in government and he's close to the resources of the state, definitely he's not a Father Christmas. He may want to find means to get the money back. It could be in the form of inflated contract and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, it is still going to be the cost that the ordinary citizen is going to bear.
Dr. Santiotre, don't go yet. Let me bring in a former General Secretary of the NPP. He's also an aspiring chairman of the party, John Buedu. Mr. Buedu, grateful for your time this afternoon. Some are saying that the NDC has beaten the NPP to it when it comes to dealing with internal vote-buying issues. They've dealt with the issues swiftly. That's what some people say. Do you agree with that? Do I have Mr. John Buedu on the line? If you can kindly unmute so we can hear you. Right, we're still trying to work the lines to get John Buedu. He's the former General Secretary of the opposition NPP. I believe I have Dr. Santiotre still on the line. Since this issue came up, social media has been awash with divided opinions. Some are arguing that even the persons on the majority caucus who have declared their support for the annulment of these election results, none of them is clean. So why are they trying to make Baba Jamal a scapegoat? Do you think they have a case?
Well, interestingly, I will hazard an answer by going back into history. In ancient Sparta, for example, as part of their education, which they called agoge, they trained the warriors to be able to steal as part of the training. Now, when you are caught stealing, in their mind, you are not clever, and you were dealt with severely. In this case, we may have to say that as much as those people who have provoked, right, condemning that act and asking for annulment, as you rightly pointed out, there is not a single person who is not guilty. But the point is that who is a thief? A thief is the one that has been caught. And as long as you have not been caught, as long as your issue is not on the banner, it becomes a bit difficult. And it makes all these people, what is it called? Climb the moral ladder and condemn the person who has been caught in the web. And I think that maybe this could be a starting point, as it were, to ensure that we change the way and manner we do our politics. And that's the more reason why others have suggested we expand the delegate system and include everybody, who and any electorate who belongs to that particular party to take part in the voting process. But I'm also of the view that that is just human character, because even if you have 100,000 people who are going to vote in that particular constituency, as a matter of political strategy, I can decide, or that particular person can decide, to get about 40% of the 100,000. And once he gets a 40% of the 100,000, he will go out and do that inducement as well. The rest of the contenders may look for either 10, 20, and 30%. At the end of the day, that person who is able to take 40% wins. And so it is about human character. It is either when we see that things of this nature are happening, we annul the election process itself. I think that for now, that elections have been held, and then, declarations have already been made. It will be too much, of high-handedness if you asked me that they should annul it. And now, if you go ahead and annul it, remember you have set a precedent, and that in itself will equally come and harm you. When, at the end of the day, every politician within this country, considers these things as what's called transport fares, as gift, so to speak. But we may interrogate these gift businesses to see whether giving the gift on that very day amounts to voter inducement or vote buying. If that is the case, then these people will find means of locating the houses of these delegates, take a percentage of that, and then still go and give it to them before the election day itself. So either we go electronic. We go electronic, that all delegates, will have to vote using their phone. And if only we trust the system, that for me will be a high-level improvement along the line. If it may not later on turn out to be a platform for Momo, where at the end of the day, whichever way you look at it, there is some motivation. If it is manually, it is manually given. If it is electronically, it is Momo given. So you see that the subculture has really come to stay. But unfortunately, Mr. Baba Jamal has been caught in this particular work. All the other aspirants inclusive. But I don't know whether the majority, that call will not fuel this conspiracy theory of Mr. Baba Jamal being hounded because he's an Asiedun Katia person. Right.
Dr. Asante-Ochoe, stay with me. Let me try to bring in the former General Secretary of the opposition NPP once again, John Boadu. Mr. Boadu, I want to believe you can hear me now. There are calls or there are accusations from some quarters that the NDC has beaten the NPP to it when it comes to dealing with internal vote buying. Is that something that you agree with? Unfortunately, we've lost John Boadu on the line once again. He's a former General Secretary of the opposition NPP. He's also an aspiring national chairman of that same party. Do we still have Dr. Asante-Ochoe on the line? Yes, Dr. Asante-Ochoe, you said that this could set a good example. But what if he's scapegoated? Do you think it's going to deter aspiring MPs from buying votes, so to speak? Okay, before you answer that question, though, let's try John Boadu once again. I understand we have him back on the line once again. He's a former General Secretary of the opposition NPP. Mr. Boadu, grateful for your time this afternoon. There are assertions from certain quarters of the country that the NDC has beaten the NPP, which is your party, to it when it comes to dealing with issues of internal vote buying due to the swiftness with which they are responding to the Ayawaso East issue. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that we tend to bring the bar down when issues of national concern, issues that are affecting all parties in democratic journey.
Mr. Boadu, I'll be grateful if you can kindly speak up for me.
Yeah, when these issues come up, it is not about NDC, NPP, and all that. Because the moment you do that, then conspiracy theories will come in. Rather, they be saying that who are they to even pontificate in the first place? But they are beneficiaries of such activities. You understand? I don't think that it's important for us to go there. This is a major problem for the country. We've been trying our democratic journey with means of electing our leaders internally. You understand? And for us in the New Patriotic Party, we experienced this towards 2008 presidential primary. We took immediate steps because we realized that the delegates to that conference was just under 2,000. And we felt that when that number is increased, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to want to influence voters, not by their ideas or their program, but just by money. That's why we expanded our presidential voting list from under 2,000 to close to 200,000. It worked for us in 2010. It worked for us in 2014. As we speak now, it's becoming a major problem because even though the kind of resources that will be capable of influencing voters may not be that much, it is becoming a burden on people contesting. Because I heard one of the contestants who was very close to Kennedy Fund saying that they spent not less than $25 million in this contest. What it means is that apart from Dr. Ditchum and Kennedy Fund, because they couldn't go down to meet polling station executives. And these are really, you go call meetings of polling station executives in the constituency. They will come from various areas in the constituency. At least you must support their transportation. If you decide to support their transportation, even just by 200 Ghana cedis, which is the minimum, that runs into close to 40 million Ghana cedis for meeting these delegates. And you cannot be an effective contestant if you can't meet this minimum transportation bill. Not to talk about your traveling expenses, people working with you, your coordinators and all that. So these are real issues that must not be reduced to NPP, NDC. It is not. Because if Baba Jamal didn't pay that amount, others were paying some amount. It doesn't matter whether it is Aponike or card or whatever. So let us elevate this discussion and see whether or not political parties will be able to devise a means of supporting even delegates and making it very punitive for candidates who want to induce delegates through monetary consideration and all that. It's a deeper discussion. It is not just simply because if I want to do the usual politics, I'll go into NDC, look at where Baba Jamal stands in NDC, because looking at the standing of Baba Jamal, he should be a minister by now, or if less, you be a CEO or very, very important position as compared to where he was given, which is also equally important in terms of ranking. Baba Jamal was higher than Osujeto in the NDC. Yeah, so I think that it's important we just get away from the internal politics.
Right.
Look at political party funding. I heard one of your contributors saying that Baba Jamal said that he had saved 2.5 billion Ghana cedis for this contest. When did he save that amount? Where did he get the money from? You understand? And if you want to go into it, it also brings in other issues. So it's important to use this as an example. As for what the NDC wants to do, whether the party itself wants to cancel the results of the elections. We are all monitoring, you understand, but it is a bigger issue than the NDC. It is something that all of us, and for us in the New Patriotic Party,
right.
If we don't do something about these things, I don't know whether all card-bearing members voting will solve the problem. And if you are not very careful, you may think that on the face of it, it will solve the problem. If you are not very careful, it will be worsening the problem. You understand? So
right.
It's something that we need to look at.
John, you've been a general secretary before of one of the biggest parties in Ghana before. Looking at the way the NDC is handling this issue, what outcome do you expect from them?
Well, for them to take that strict action by the party in the interim issuing a statement condemning it and later coming up with a committee to investigate and also getting government to withdraw the appointment of Baba Jama. I think it is strict. What it means is that the Ghanaian people will be monitoring because the majority caucus had even gone further to ask for the cancellation of the election. So we are waiting patiently because from the deadline given by the party, by Tuesday, the committee is supposed to finish with their findings, and we are waiting patiently to look at it. And also not only looking at it from the perspective of what happened, but recommendations going forward. Because clearly, we've seen in the Not by-election, inducement went on. When the regional minister was asked, he said it's normal. So it's a normal thing. If voters want to go to vote, you need to give them something to go and vote.
And do you agree with her that it's normal? Do you agree with that?
It cannot be a standard for our election. It cannot be. It cannot be a standard for our election.
Right.
That if you don't have, it means that irrespective of all the ideas that you have, the experience and the capacity that you have, you cannot contest.
John,
I don't think nothing was done. I saw some statements issued by the OSP, which I thought that maybe it's an AI statement because I cannot believe that something has happened. OSP wants to investigate. Then you bring in some other things about NPP before your... What was the meaning of that? What was it about? And these are the kind of things that create problems for us as a country. So instead of us to look at the issues as it happens, broaden it, raise the bar, let us discuss it, let us get recommendations that will improve it.
Okay.
We easily become partisan.
Right.
So now, the NDC had done where it is quickly. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. We will not come back to it. We all have the same problem, MPP, and we'll come back later here.
Okay, thank you. Right. Thank you, John. John Boadu is a former General Secretary of the opposition NPP. And this is a good moment to bring in a member of the three-member committee investigating the alleged vote buying in the Ayawaso East constituency in Inusa Hussein. He is also a former MP for Tamale Central. Grateful for your time this afternoon. Which of the aspirants have so far appeared before the investigative committee?
The aspirants are appearing later on in the day.
Right.
We have just met our election who provide the election in competition. They have done a detailed rundown of what transpired at the election center.
Well, concerns are already being raised about the limited time to this committee. Will you be able to meet the deadline?
Well, so we are working very hard to be able to meet the deadline to submit a report by tomorrow. And so we might be working late into the night.
Right. I'll still stay on the time frame, though. Are you confident you can complete the engagements, compile your findings, and submit your report by close of tomorrow?
We are very confident and upbeat. I mean, the seriousness that we are approaching these facts is like that. I am really very impressed about the enthusiasm that the chairman has shown in getting us all to assemble today to be able to discharge that responsibility given to us.
And have you encountered any challenge so far?
So far, no challenges.
Are stakeholders and delegates freely volunteering information?
The people have been very honest, very honest. I mean, sometimes you are even shocked at the level of honesty.
And how has the reception been like? How are people receiving this?
Everybody's concerned. I mean, I think that everybody's concerned that this thing has happened. And so I think that is what is engendering this level of honesty.
Right. And people are wondering if it is only the evidence that we all have seen that you are going to rely on, or there's more beyond that, the evidence on TV.
So we are leaving nothing out. So, I mean, what is becoming increasingly clear is that we all came into what happened at Ayawaso through the media. It's the media that exposed that. And so we will be looking at the evidence that came to us through the media. We'll be looking at collected evidence, the actors, and the just our part. So we're not leaving anything out.
And is this hearing going to be public or private?
You mean the meeting?
Yes.
This is a committee of the National Functional Executive Committee. And so we meet, get the evidence, make our recommendations, suggest the way forward, and present the report to the Functional Executive Committee. They have to determine what they have to do with the establishment for the bank.
Inus Afuseni, thank you very much. He's a former member of Parliament for Tamale Central and also a member of the three-member committee that has been set up by the NDC to investigate this matter. I still have Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre with me. Let me wrap up with you, Doc. I was about to ask you, though, you said that it would be best to start from somewhere, and Baba Jamal is the one, unfortunately, this is starting with. But do you think that whatever happens at the end, it will put fear in aspiring candidates in the near future to stop vote buying, or it wouldn't, but they would rather change their strategies in vote buying?
That's a tough one. I'm also of the view that the party must equally proceed with care, that they do not entangle themselves, because whichever way you look at it, per the political culture that we have all nurtured in this country, this thing will continue. This inducement, whichever form, it will definitely continue.
Thank you very much. Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre is a political science lecturer at the University of Cape Coast in the Central Region. Away from the NDC, though, A Tax for Galamsey is a headline investigative documentary that exposes how illegal mining in Amansia Central District of the Ashanti region is no longer merely tolerated, but systematically taxed, receipted, and protected by government appointees through undercover reporting, secret recordings, documentary evidence, and on-the-ground infiltration. The investigation reveals an alleged extortion network involving the District Assembly, a task force operating under the authority of the District Chief Executive as well. And the documentary uncovers
Undercover, we infiltrated the Jakobu Township, the seat of the District Assembly, posing as illegal miners operating at Eskesu, one of the mining communities. It is time for us to uncover the loot. We secretly filmed every process and navigated the community on motorbikes. The assembly is where we intend to make payments and confirm every illegal mining scandal. Our undercover operation led us to Philemon, a receptionist at the District Assembly. He greeted us and with apparent willingness agreed to help us procure a warrant sticker for our Galamsey operation. He called one district engineer who would later send us contact to the mining desk officer himself.
Afternoon. Good afternoon. Boss Pacho, okay, your baby to stick out. Okay, to stick out. And see, onim, Mame, or the Murion, Mame name is Officer Linkasawai. It is no other man and I'm more in the Panakasawai. All right. Yeah, trust stick out.
Hours passed as we waited for the mining desk officer and leader of the task force, a man known interchangeably as Red, Malam or Nana, who also served as the community's chief imam. Our wait was prolonged because he was reportedly out on an operation collecting the tax from illegal miners. Payments were allegedly collected on Mondays and Wednesdays alone. Later, we managed to speak with the head of the mining desk on phone. He confirmed the 3,000 Ghana cedi payment for Chamfan machines and instructed us to wait for his arrival, which was very uncertain.
Pacho Chamfan Bako.
Chamfan Oka.
Pachani.
One leg, you know.
Pachani.
We have a man from why?
Pacho,
the fight.
A better and Kepesi Kobe Pikakra.
45 minutes.
Wow. Looking at Kabeka and to me, because he has said your Kumase.
It's weird you would say that a state that has called, irresponsible mining terrorism is then at the same time facilitating this through what is seemingly even state sanctioned, right? Because there are receipts that are involved. It means that the state infrastructure is accounting for its support and its own implications into it. So it's a strange arrangement where the state now is in itself an illegal miner.
Our investigation points to serious breaches of the law by state officials entrusted to protect the public. Under the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, facilitating or providing cover for illegal mining constitutes a criminal offense. Evidence gathered shows that officials who offered protection and collected payments may have crossed the line from regulators to accomplices. These actions potentially violate the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, which criminalizes corruption and abuse of public office, as well as the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, which prohibits unauthorized collection of public funds. The conduct of the District Chief Executive also raises questions under the Local Government Act 2016, Act 936, while the environmental damage may contravene the Environmental Protection Agency Act 1994, Act 490. With our investigation at the Assembly corroborated, we proceeded to some of the illegal mining sites at Eskesu. Here, the environmental destruction is starkly evident. Farmlands are gone, water bodies choked with sediment. At Eskesu, we met some illegal miners who detailed the exact process for making payments for Chamfan machines.
One machine money over 20,000.
Into no excavator back
50,000. 50,000.
Master.
One, this will put a million, but my 50,000, 60,000. Wow.
and a chamfan.
That's a no kind of stuff. And no kind from a young but this year in Africa. From the Saturday Ghana, but this year no master to be anybody.
And joining me now is one of the producers of the documentary, Nana Boachi Yadom. Nana, great job there. Paint a picture for me. How dire is the situation?
Well, Ken, if you watch from the evidence that we've shown to our viewers, it tells you that the illegal mining fight that we have staged in this country is not yielding any positive results. And in the Amansia Central District, it is a pay to destroy syndicates operating by illegal miners who have to pay 3,000 Ghana cedis to work for chamfan machines and over 30,000 Ghana cedis for excavator machines. If you listen to the documentary going deeper, you hear the district chief executive confirming that this is necessary to raise revenue for the district assembly. And that has been the question of corruption that we are raising at this point. What laws guarantee or allows the district chief executive and the assembly at large to take monies from illegal miners to operate openly without fear or favor? And also, what laws allows the DC to set up a task force to go undercover or to lead this particular operation? So, Ken, from the evidence that we have, it shows you that it is a clear case of distraction now being supported by local government, and local government, we mean district chief executive who openly endorses this particular operation.
And this DC has been in office for about a year or less, because this is an NDC appointed DC. Is this something that began with him, or even his predecessor was also engaged in this?
Well, from the evidence we have, we are unable to tell if this has been in existence for a very long time. But what we have been able to gather is that the particular setup of task force and the amounts being brought out, especially for 3,000 chamfan and 30,000 excavator, it is something new. As to whether or not the other government used to do so, we have no evidence towards that. But what we know is that this policy, particularly with the money involved, was brought up by the district chief executive, Emmanuel Obey Ajiman, who is the DC for Amansia Central. And so this is something that for the past year he has been doing. Now, Ken, this is the formality. Now, it is a full year, 1 year they set out for you as an illegal miner. You are supposed to pay for your chamfan or excavator 3,000 for chamfan. That is going to last for 6 months. That's half the year. And now it is going to be 6,000 if you are paying for the full year. And so renewal is done at the end of the particular month to which your 6 months will fall. And this has been the operation that the illegal miners engage in. And so you pay 3,000 Ghana cedis twice a year if you have an excavator. So it is paid 3,000 half a year. And this is something that has been going on for the past 1 year since he has been in office as DCE.
And have you had any calls from him or any other person close to him since this documentary started airing today?
Well, we've started receiving some phone calls. Earlier on when we were working on the documentary, we tried reaching out to the assembly, but it yielded no positive results. But today, as the documentary came up, we started having calls of them trying to respond to it. And as and when we're able to settle on that, definitely would bring our viewers up to speed on that.
And this is just Amansia Central. Are you hearing of similar incidents happening elsewhere in the Ashanti region?
Well, it will surprise you that right after Joy News started bringing out excerpts of this documentary, we've had calls, several calls. And before joining you, I had a call from one member of parliament who was talking to me about his district, the DC in his district, being involved in a similar case. And he has given me evidence. Going forward, we are not going to relent on what we have done alone. We are going to pursue some of these areas that we've gotten evidence of same. And then we will uncover some of these corrupt practices that is going around the country.
And aside from them giving the permission for people to engage in illegal mining activities, is he, the DC, or anyone close to him directly engaged in Galamsey themselves?
Well, what we know is that the head of the task force, who is known interchangeably as Malam, Red, Nana, who is equally the chief imam of the community, is in himself the district mining desk officer, owns one of the particular sites that we visited. And he is one of the lead illegal miners in the community. Unfortunately, he is the one set out to lead the task force being set up by the district chief executive to go around and take monies from the people. The district assembly itself, if you go there, I was telling my colleague that this is a bigger picture of people operating in the government office who are engaged in illegal mining, because everybody you see there will tell you, or you would see or notice that they are engaged in illegal mining one way or the other.
Nana Boachi Adam, kudos on a good job done. And let's just stay on Zoom and speak to Andres Bediako. He's the administrator at the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana. Andres, the documentary is making some allegations that district assembly officials are taxing illegal miners. I want to find out from you what mechanisms exist to hold assemblies and DCs accountable when such allegations arise. Can you unmute your microphone so we can hear you? We'll connect with him shortly, but let's speak to John Dako. He's the MP for Swami and also a member of the local government committee. John, grateful for your time this afternoon. What do you make of these revelations in our latest Hotline documentary?
It's sad, and it's sad because clearly it tells you that the efforts of government is not yielding results. And I'm saying this, with all the sincerity within me. I believe that sometimes the government from the top may be willing to fight a canker, like Galamsey, but the government representatives down below will frustrate the situation. Of course, in some cases, they do that with clear support of the authorities in Accra. In this particular instance, we don't even know whether the authorities in Accra are involved. But clearly, it tells you that the oversight that the executive is supposed to give to its members down there at the district assembly is lacking. That's how I see it. But look, the bigger picture is that this country is going to take us a long time to fight Galamsey. The problem runs deep. Just about 2 weeks ago, one of my committees, the Committee on Environment, Science and Technology, we visited a lot of mining companies, and we saw the devastating effect of illegal mining. Look, right now, the danger is not even just the mere destruction of the water bodies, but the introduction of cyanide into the water bodies and into our forest. We are sitting on a serious time bomb, and it's just sad that the people who are appointed to fight this are the members who are doing this. Let me tell you what, there's no way this can be justified, because if you look at Section 99 of the Act 703, which has been amended by Act 995, it makes even the manufacturing of champagne even a crime. The champagne and all these other machinery and equipment that are used to engage in illegal mining activities are banned. And the sad thing is that these equipment, you see them by the roadsides. Yes. When we were going to these mining companies, I saw champagne machine and equipment by the roadside. So I'm asking myself, this is banned equipment. Why is this sitting here? So, look, sometimes we need to go beyond the politics and see the real danger this Galamsey is doing to us. I will plead with our police. I will plead with our security agencies to muster the courage to handle these things. Why is it that we still have some fines around? You see them, they are by the roadside. They are being sold. Why are they there? This one, you don't need the president to come and tell you to go and destroy this or arrest the people who are manufacturing this. The police officers must be bold. At least we know that the president has told them that he's willing to fight Galamsey. So don't be afraid. Go and do it. If you go and some members of the NDC come to attack you, then we can know how to defend you. Because what is happening, look, we keep saying we are sitting on a time bomb. The bomb is here 2 weeks ago. And if you talk to the large mining companies, they are worried. It's not just the mere destruction of the road, it's the introduction of cyanide. Right now, illegal mining operators. Okay, and the sad thing is that some of them are not even from Ghana. They are from Burkina and Togo. They bring in cyanide so that they can get more gold from the ore. That is where the danger now is. It is getting worse. And if you have government officials appointed to handle this problem, and they themselves turn around to collect money, then you know that we are not going anywhere. Now, I'm going to drop soon so that you can talk to the other colleagues. The problem is that the president, I am sure, and for this one, even though I'm not an NDC person, I'm sure the president will fire this person. If the president doesn't fire these people, then we will know that he's complicit. So I know that the president will fire this person. The problem is that when the president fires this person, the next person is going to do the same thing. So we as a people, we are just not honest with ourselves. We don't want this problem to end. People want to benefit from this illegal activity. And that is what is killing us. And now you ask your producer whether Amasia Central is going to be placed. I can tell you, it's all over the country. And so the government has to be very, very careful. If our president wants to end Galamsey, then he really needs to get down there, get his ministers down there, because the chief executives, they are going to, in fact, I'm sure this is the only one that has come up. I'm sure they are all collected. And it's just going to be worse and worse and worse. So, my brother, I am very sorry. It's a sad reality. But Galamsey is not going to end now, especially if you look at the fact that government appointees are the one in it. It's not going to end now.
John Darko, thank you very much. He's MP for Swami and also a member on, okay, don't go yet, stay with me. He's the MP for Swami and also a member on the Parliament's Committee on Local Government and Rural Development. Let's now bring in the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Kenneth Ashigbe. Grateful for your time, Mr. Ashigbe. Are you disappointed or really not surprised with this latest revelation in our new documentary?
Well, am I disappointed? I am pained, but am I disappointed? Honorable Darko put it right. You know, unfortunately, it didn't start this time. The MCE for Butsumuri during the NPP time was confessed on tape of being involved in an illegality. What's happened to him? There is a DC who's been convicted on for contempt, and the issue is related to Galamsey. We've been asking His Excellency to interdict him, because that DC says that it is not him, but it's the person who took him to court is the person who's involved in Galamsey. That has not been dealt with. This particular DC, as Honorable Darko said, he has sinned against Act 703 and Act 995. So what should be happening now is that he should be arrested. He should be arrested immediately and prosecuted. And it's not only him. The MC or DC for Dunko, he also gives stickers. He sells stickers to excavator owners. Ask him whether those excavator owners, whether all of those excavators are tracked, whether those excavators are only involved in illegal mining, and whether he's dealing with that. So, for me, His Excellency had told us that one of the KPIs for DCs and MCs was going to be their fight against Galamsey. Now we have seen one of them who is openly collecting money from an activity. Even the excavators, assume the excavators were even tracked, and so he's collecting money from them. But funds, as Honorable MP Darko has mentioned to you, it's a proscribed equipment, which is illegal. So how is he even collecting money from those people? And how are they accounting for that money? What receipts are they using? Have they gone to their assemblies to pass bylaws that enables them to charge those fees? Those are questions that we should be asking. I have seen the Secretary General of the NDC and the action that they've taken about that particular election. This is even worse because, again, as the Honorable Daku mentioned to you, the issue of cyanidation, they are calling something in situ cyanidation. They are doing it all the way from the north, all the way to the south. We were saved by a whole community being wiped out because there was a borehole that was close to the place they were doing the cyanidation that had high level of cyanide. And cyanide is deadly. Mercury will take a long while. It might not even kill you. But cyanide will wipe. You know the only thing that saved them? The only thing that saved them was that the pump that was on the borehole got broken down. And so one of the large-scale mines then brought EPA in. When they did the test, the level of cyanidation was so bad and they closed it. That is what we are dealing with. So we are pleading with the national security that this issue of Burkinabés who are coming into our country and doing this in-situ mining, we need to deal with that because that's a major national threat. And this particular DC, we need to immediately ensure that he is arrested. Investigations are carried on. You know, so not only should he be arrested by the police, definitely there's some corruption and corruption-related activity in there. So the special prosecutor, we have seen him, you know, also with these things. This is also one of the cases that we need to deal with. And you see, so if we really want to deal with this issue, we need to deal with the firefighters who themselves are the arsonists. People like his ilk, who have been appointed to be the president representative in the district, but they themselves are, you know, deeply involved in it. There are some DCs, when I call them out, they call me and say they are fighting it, but definitely not this DC, based on the work that you have done. And so we should be asking for this DC. We should be asking for any DC who is giving permits to any of these people. We should be asking for their blood. The question the Honorable MP also asked is that this champagnes and all of that, this proscribed equipment, they are imported, they come through our ports. They are shipped all the way. There are places that you saw the EPA go around and close some of them. How is that those people have not been arrested? So we need to really wake up and smell the coffee and say that these people, they are not putting our futures at risk. What we are talking about is our today. What we are talking about is you and I, our lives. And so I think that it is important that NIMOS is working, you know, but NIMOS goes to these places and comes back. One of the things NIMOS had asked for is money to be permanently positioned in those places. We need to do that. But before we do that, is to start holding these MCs, these DCs accountable. And it starts with this particular one. And I would ask that the MC or DC for Dunkwao should also be investigated for the tax that he's giving to excavator owners. Is he telling us that all of those excavators have been tracked? Is he telling us that all of those excavators, are doing legal mining? And so we need to deal with this thing very decisively. And I'm pleading with His Excellency the President. I have shared your flyers with some of the ministers who I know, that they also need to add their voices to it. We need to set an example with this DC, and so that any DC, any MC who is involved in it, would take a cue from this and stop.
Right. Let me bring back John Daku, who is the MP for Swami. John, there are calls for the sacking of this DC. Is that a call the minority as a whole supports?
Well, obviously, this is a call that minority will wholeheartedly support, not just the dismissal, but also prosecution. We need to set a very good example and deter people. The purpose of punishment under criminal jurisprudence is to deter people, at least one of them, apart from reformation. So I think that we should use this person to set an example to all other DCs and government officials who even dream of engaging in this blatant destruction of our natural resources. So obviously, we will support that and not just dismiss, prosecute such people. But look, I think beyond the dismissal, government has to be proactive because you see, and I'm happy my senior brother, Kenneth also mentioned the cyanide problem. Look, I think that a lot of people are not even giving attention to it. I think your media and other media houses should rather be looking at the cyanidation. It is one of the most dangerous things happening to our environment right now. The way illegal mining operators are now using cyanide. Okay, and you know the problem with it is that it aids them to increase recovery. So if they take an ore without cyanide, if they are going to take 20% of the good out of the ore, with cyanide, they may get about 80% to 90%. So the demand for it is going high. People are now rushing for it, and the effect is dangerous. And I think he made that point. It can wipe out a whole community. So government should rather now be looking at how we can even stop the cyanide to end in the hands of these illegal mining operators. In fact, if you look at any major mining company, they have a whole facility that treats cyanide, waste from their operations, and they do it well. The EPA monitors it. It costs them millions of cedis to treat, the whole process. These illegal mine operators, of course, they don't care. Nobody regulates them, and they don't process any waste. The waste ends up in our water bodies, ends up in our farms, and ends up on our desk. I remember one documentary you did when you showed us how, the food products that end up on our dining tables are so polluted. This one will just kill. And so we need to drum home the dangers of the cyanide being used by illegal mining so that we can save the lives of people. And I think the last point I make before maybe you drive me out of here is that government must fight this holistically. Now, what we are hearing is that because cocoa farmers are not being paid, and they feel that now it is even a waste of time to have a cocoa farm, they don't resist. Even though before it was enticing, it has become easier for cocoa farmers to now give their farms out to illegal mining operators. Before, people have to go to them and beg them, pay them big money before they give up their cocoa farms, for illegal mining. Now they are the ones chasing the illegal mining operators that, look, when I farm my cocoa, I'm not being paid. I'm hungry, so come and take the farm and give me money. And when they take the farm, they destroy, of course, the land, they destroy the forest, and then end up, poisoning all of us. So government should be looking at fighting this from that angle. Also, make sure that at least our cocoa farmers are being paid. How is it that for 4 months, cocoa farmers are not being paid? People will be encouraged to now, give out their lands for illegal mining operators. This is becoming worse. And President Mahama, he should know that we took him by his word. People of Ghana are going to judge at least on his fight against galamsey. If he feels, I don't think that he can ever convince anybody of a better legacy.
John, don't go yet. Same as Ken. Let me bring in Andrews Bediako. He's the administrator at the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana. Mr. Bediako, grateful for your time. The documentary alleges that district assembly officials are taxing illegal miners. I want to find out from you what mechanisms exist to hold assemblies and, to a large extent, DC is accountable when such allegations arise.
Thank you very much, my brother. Former administrator. I think I need to state on authority that Act 936 prescribe the sources of revenue to district assemblies. And the Department of the Assemblies and that department that is responsible for revenue mobilization is the Finance Office. You see, whenever issues of these things happen, we normally look at the politician because he is the first point of call. So people are calling on the politician to be sacked, should be fired. I'm not defending the MC or the DC. It is appropriate that we state the facts as they are. Look, who normally takes some of these monies from the people? The Revenue Office, which is under the Finance Officer. So we are all calling on the politician to be fired. He should be sacked here and there. But are we also looking at the fact that the politicians normally don't work at the assembly alone? They work they work with other people. The finance officer is there, the coordinating director is there. So when issues like this come down, we are always looking at the politician. What about the technocrats who are supposed to advise the DCE or the MCE, who normally collect some of these monies? It might be that I'm not saying maybe the DCE is not aware about whatever has happened at his assembly. If you are not aware, meaning you are not in charge. But we should expand the conversation. We should look at other people. If probably we are looking at the DCE being fired, what about the finance officer? What about the coordinating director? Because they are normally responsible for these fees and charge these fees that normally the assembly takes from the people. So we need to expand it. I'm saying it's unfortunate that the DCE will be in this category. That is not the best. You are not supposed to do that. Because if you look at the Local Governance Act that the assemblies use as the law governing the assembly, it is stated these are revenue sources. And taking license or fees from people is not in a way against the law. But the particular money that you are taking, is it legal? That is why the issue is. But those who are also working with the DC, what are we doing to them? We should look at it from that angle. So if we are punishing the DC, I'm not defending the DC, but if you are punishing the DC, the people who are also supposed to advise the DC as to the money that they are supposed to collect, and they didn't do the right thing, we should expand the conversation to cover all of them.
Glad you brought the technocrats bit up, but I want to find out from you, how do we prevent local authorities from abusing their powers in the name of regulation, and what reforms are needed to stop assemblies really from becoming complicit in illegal mining?
That's why we are all governed by laws. So if the DC has gone contrary to the rules and regulations of Ghana, or the Constitution, or the Local Governance Act, that person must be punished. But what we are saying is that if the president is also committed, as he has told us, then we are looking at how best we can address some of these challenges. Now, the DC has gone contrary to the rules and regulations of even the Assembly, not even the Constitution of Ghana. And we must use the law to deal with that person. So what I'm saying is that the laws are there. The laws are prescribed, and if you go contrary to the rules and regulations or the laws of the country, you need to be sanctioned or you need to be judged by the law. But what I'm saying is that we shouldn't end at the politician alone. We should expand it to cover other people.
Thank you for bringing the attention of Joy News to that. But how really influential are these people that you speak of? How influential are they? How can they influence such decisions before they happen?
You see, the coordinating director is the chief advisor to the DCE or the MC. He is supposed to advise the DCE. You see, technocrats are always at the assembly. So they are supposed to know better than the politician. That's why they will advise you. Some decisions are political decisions that I agree that the politician will have to take those political decisions. But if we look at the political decisions alone without expanding it or extending it to cover other areas, we might be making a mistake. So the guideline is there. If the person has gone contrary to the guidelines, as the president has said, that is not in any way condoning illegality or the illegal mining. So if that has happened, definitely the person must be dealt with. But we must always go for the laws.
And during your time as coordinator, did you see such influence coming from these individuals?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of influence. These individuals have a lot of influence. That's why the coordinating director is always the one who is supposed to advise the DCE as to you are supposed to do this, you are not supposed to do it. But some decisions are being taken by the DCE because he's a politician. But they have a lot of influence at the assembly.
And
all these departments, yeah, they have a lot of influence.
And did you ever witness an incident where they were able to persuade an MMDC to, engage in illegal mining, as we are seeing in our documentary?
Oh no, they will not. They will not advise the DC to engage in illegal money. I don't think that's why we can put it on the technocrat data. They will advise the DC to engage in illegal money. No, if you do that, we are not being fair to them. But what I'm saying is that they have a lot of influence. They are supposed to advise the DC. So if there is an evidence that the DC advised that the coordinating director or the finance officer advised that we shouldn't take these monies from illegal miners, but the DC go ahead to do it, definitely he has gone contrary to the rules of the engagement. So what I'm saying is that they have a lot of influence at the assembly, and the good ones will always advise you as to what you are supposed to do. Some decisions are political, but when it comes to these issues that this money we are not supposed to take, they will advise you as a DC. And if they advise you and you don't take it, then the DC can be punished according to the advice that they gave you and you didn't take. But as it stands now, we don't have any evidence that these technocrats advised the DC that we are not supposed to take these monies, but he went ahead to take it.
Andrew Spediako, thank you very much. He's a former administrator at the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana. I still have John Dakon with me. He's the MP for Swami, and also Ken Ashigbe is the convener of Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Gentlemen, I still have you on the line. Let me come to John Dakon there. Mr. Dakon, Ken Ashigbe mentioned some names. He mentioned, for example, MP for Bosomi Freho, who he says is engaging in illegal mining during the previous administration. He's also mentioned this DCE for Dunkwao. And then we've gotten this DCE for Amancia East, Amancia Central, also caught on tape, encouraging individuals to engage in illegal mining. And the buck usually stops with politicians. It appears that the political will to prosecute or deal with one of our own when it comes to illegal mining is really not there. Why is that the case?
Okay, I think that a correction would be useful. Mr. Ashigbe mentioned the DC of Bosumefra, not the
DC,
not the MP.
Right.
Yes. So, but I think I understand the question to mean that it looks like there are politicians who are also involved in this, and that the will to fight politicians is not there. I think that if we are serious as a nation, we should go beyond that. Look, once somebody violates our laws, we shouldn't worry whether the person is a politician, big politician, or small politician. Otherwise, look, we are going to fail as a country. Okay? If you continue to tolerate the protection of politicians, who have committed crimes, this country will be destroyed. It is a sad reality. And so, for me, the ball is now in the court of this president to show that he's willing to fight illegal mining. It doesn't matter who is involved, whether the person is a DC, any government appointee, whether the person is an MP, whether the person is a minister. The president should crack the whip, because this is about the future of this country. It is dangerous than any of the things that I believe we have faced as a country. And so we cannot say that there is no political will. We need to find that political will. The president must show it. Okay, look at how quick they came out to set up an investigation into the election issues in Ayawaso East. I think it was the same day. They want us to see that when it comes to vote buying, the NDC, the President Mohammed's government will not tolerate it. Fair. Let's say that at least you are taking the first step. What about the Galamsey? All the names that have been mentioned, what has the president done about it? All the issues that have come up, okay, how is the president handling it? Because you see, if we don't deter people, if there's no deterrence, people will continue to commit crimes. And look, when you go to other parts of the world, the only reason why people think twice when they are committing crimes is that, one,
right,
when you are caught, it doesn't matter who you are, you'll be dealt with, and the punishment will be severe. And so engaging in any illegal activity in developed countries is expensive. So we need to make engaging in illegal mining expensive than the money they make.
Right.
Because see, if you have a case where somebody is arrested and is fined, and all you have to do is to pay, let's say, 1,000 penalty units, 1,000 penalty units, or even 10,000 penalty units. Okay, that's about 120,000. People who engage in illegal mining and pay the 1,000 or 10,000 penalty unit. We need to make the cost of, especially corruption, we need to make the cost of illegal mining so expensive that anybody who think about going to any of these activities will think twice. And as it stands now, it is so fruitful, it is so beneficial. People risk it because they know that it doesn't matter what the cost, they will benefit.
Okay, John.
And this is why people keep going into it.
John Dako, thank you very much. He's the Member of Parliament for Swami constituency in the Ashanti region. I still have Ken Ashigbe on the line. He's the convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Ken, do you think this is going to be a big test for President Mahama, whatever decision he takes on this? Kindly unmute your microphone so we can hear you.
Oh, sorry, forgive me. Yes, I think this definitely is. And with the alacrity with which His Excellency dealt with some particular issues, I am hoping that the same would be brought to bear so far as this is concerned. You know, because what we are dealing with, it's eating us up right from the core. And so we need to be demonstrating, to these criminals that this is not going to be acceptable. You have the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources breaking his back. You have the NIMASs in there trying to deal with these issues. But the DCs and MCs, they are with them. And so that is the reason why, for me, I say they are the first line of defense. And if we really want this to work, we need to hold them accountable. I agree that it is, when it comes to leadership of the assemblies, it is not only the DCs or the MCs, and so the coordinating directors and everybody. And so we need to make sure that anybody who is complicit, because if you look at 995, it really talks about if you have any role to play in this, the punishment is really, really very dire. And in this particular situation, we've had the Chief Justice tell us that the special courts are going to start working. And so what we will be hoping to happen is that this particular case, this DCE should be arrested immediately if his coordinating directors and everybody who is involved in this particular act of, charging Chamfan operators, which is an illegality, they immediately should all be arrested and put before the courts, taken to the specialized courts, be sentenced and given the maximum sentence so far as Act 995, is concerned when it comes to the issues of illegal mining. And we need to make sure we're dealing with all politically exposed persons who are involved in this. I'm not too sure where the Akonta mining issue is going. The Professor Frimpong Boateng report is replete with a lot of these politically exposed persons who were involved in it. The Iyoko themselves were supposed to be investigating some current members of this government. We're not too sure where all of that is. So we need to be setting the right signals. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is currently in Cape Town, trying to get investment into Ghana, into the mining environment and all of that. But it will not happen when you have all of these things happening and then tainting our gold. You have the Gold Board now wanting to work on the issues of traceability, make sure that we have responsible sourcing and we have responsible mining and all of that. So we cannot have some particular people sabotaging the efforts of His Excellency the President. This is a nation wrecker, and we are pleading with His Excellency the President to ensure that at least he is arrested, he is interdicted, and investigations go into this. There's so much evidence, on the face of the documentary you have done. And I would say to His Excellency the President that the DC or the MC for Dunko, they also have stickers that they sell to these excavators. I have not heard that they do chamfans. It's just excavators. But my question with them is that do they follow up and make sure that those excavators do not go into the theater of this criminality, or they are also collecting money from criminal activity and drinking from the poisoned chalice. And so we need to make sure that we are holding these leaders accountable. And once we do that, Galamsey is a national problem, but the solutions are local. If you get MCs, DCs, the various people in assemblies beginning to hold the people accountable in the places they are, a lot of these things will stop. But the MCs and DCs, some of them will tell you that powerful political persons, that when they start fighting, this particular thing, then they are pushing for them to be changed and all of that. So again, that's why I urge His Excellency the President that the DCE currently, who is a contempt convict, his case needs to be looked at, because that particular DCE claims that the case that was that took him to court for him when he was convicted, it was brought by a known Galamseya, a person that when they they confiscate his equipment is released to him. So who are involved in all of that? Who are the big fishes who are doing that? His Excellency has told that there's not going to be any order from above. So definitely it's not coming from him, but who is it that is making sure that that person works? So that DCE's case, for example, needs to be investigated. Those who, if he is innocent, then there is that particular, Galamsey that he is talking about who is guilty. If he is not and he is guilty, he also should be punished, so that it is clear to everybody that it does not matter whose ass is God. Right. Once you get yourself engaged in this, the repercussions are dire.
Ken Ashigbe, thank you very much.
If I can put one thing across, I mean, somebody just sent me a message from one of the mining sites, and he says that, JD, now the DCs have left the fight for party foot soldiers and some constituency executives to go to various sites to mobilize money. Some miners have to arrange money for constituency chairman in order for their site not to be attacked by NIMOS. Now, I mean, you can't put it right that Galamsey is a national problem, but the solution is local. I think that's one best phrase. I'm going to write it now. But so when we go to the communities, this is what is happening. Now is the constituency chairman, party foot soldiers, who are collecting money from these illegal mining operators because they believe that their government is in power.
Right.
We need to put a stop to it. Otherwise, look, when the government changes, NPP people are also going to do the same. We need to be strict and make sure that these people are punished. And once people see that it's very expensive to engage in this activity, at least we can begin to sigh, relief.
Right. John, I would want you to give details of that particular text message to my producer, and we'll definitely follow up on that. John Dakon is MP for Swami. Earlier, we heard from Ken Ashigbe. He's the convener of the coalition against Galamsey. We also heard from Andrews Bediako, who is a former administrator at the National Association of Local Authorities of Ghana. You're still watching the pause here on Joy News. Let's bring you more stories today as cocoa farmers are intensifying pressure on the government. They're calling for the payment of outstanding arrears for cocoa beans supplied since November 2025. According to the farmers, the government's failure to pay has severely crippled their day-to-day activities, making cultivation increasingly difficult. My colleague Jacqueline Ansumaya was with the farmers, and us more in this report.
Over the last few days, the big conversation on every network has been cocoa farmers calling on government to pay them the arrears due them. Since November, they've not been paid, and they've been crying out and calling on government to pay them the arrears. Well, currently I'm in Akoko, where most of the farmers, earlier it was a bit chaotic, trying to get answers from the government as to why they haven't been paid. Now, I want us to take a listen to most of the concerns raised by these farmers.
We are a cooperative. We are president. Now, if you say, I
have never experienced this before, that almost 4 months we haven't been paid.
Kaklani adumaya yaji atum na kakle yaji atum so na wo fesika yi mayen na ye be ni denti adisrade ani yade to abere sere no ye sere no Yes,
Tit and Kitamino. Moshaswa. Obieni.
If you look at this list, it shows no one has been paid. I have a nephew to take care of in a university, so he's in the house.
Or cover city. What if he Sikani wa Medema Kolana diako? Oh no, Yokono. As I say no, the mama got himself for number 2. Because that's kind of move to say this called my no. And the son is a 10-year fire against Yanni Mahama.
We will actually sell our land to illegal mining.
Yaman got himself for. Yes, I say no.
If in November, Nenda, Utu Mato Coco $250. I mean, yes, came out. Sorry, farmers need to me was my age married for 20 years. Me witness it way before. Say I took cocoa pa na abayin tuaka. I am one. A man for tata me meet me that.
To school. School fees 50 December.
My children are home. They can't even go to school. Look at my tiny hands that I use for farming, and still I haven't been paid.
Now, until these farmers get a better response from government, this is going to be the situation where they cry out every day demanding answers. Old men, old women, all in these places seeking for answers as to why they haven't been paid for almost 4 months. Reporting for Joy News, Jacqueline and Sima Eboa.
Thank you, Jackie, for that report. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Randy Abbey, says the government is still considering a new funding model to address the situation.
So we, together with the Ministry of Finance and Government, have been thinking through a new funding model. A funding model which also will not make us be obligated to sell our beans raw, because under the syndication you would have to sign contracts for the raw beans, and that is what you use as a collateral. And therefore, if for example you were going to do 600,000 tons and you were committing 500,000 tons to sell to buyers as raw beans, how can you in the same breath be speaking about value addition when you know that you are committing about 70-75% of your crop to go as raw beans? Meanwhile, you are also touting 500,000 processing capacity. We appreciate what the farmers are going through. We know that these are very, very difficult times, but we appeal that they keep faith with us. We would find a solution very, very soon.
Let's take you up north, because in the heart of the northern region, a quiet crisis is unfolding. Climate change is pushing women farmers to the limits in the Nyasagba community in the Karaga district. Drought has withered crops, leaving many with nothing to harvest. Yet, amidst the struggle, there's some resilience. Some women are fighting back with innovative farming techniques. In this story, we will explore the challenges they face, from land scarcity to food insecurity, and the measures some are putting in place to address these challenges.
Women farmers are the backbone of agriculture in northern Ghana, but they are faced with a double challenge of lack of access to land and the impact of climate change. In this story, we explore these two subjects and its impact on food security and nutrition on families. We engage a farmer, Baba Fati, in Nyasabga, a community in the Karaga district. She said she's been farming on the same piece of land for the past 6 years, and her yields have dwindled.
Last year, the drought was severe, so it was a low yield, and it's happening again this year.
Climate change is altering weather patterns. Most parts of northern Ghana have for the past 3 years suffered heavy drought. But why this challenge? We speak to climate change expert Wayo Mahama of the Faculty of Agriculture and Natural Resources of the Tamale Technical University, who explains the phenomenon.
The more we send gases up there, green gases up there, we're causing a problem to the ozone layer. And what do you expect? Heat at the end of the day. And so we always complain that the weather is hot. It's all because of our activities. There's so much emission of greenhouse gases. The population is growing by the day. We're becoming more industrialized by the day. We're buying more vehicles by the day. And every time you stand at traffic, imagine the amount of fluorocarbons that we are emitting into the atmosphere.
Impact of climate change affects yield, reducing access to nutritious food. Back in the home of Fati, her children are having breakfast. The children are eating cooked corn without any source of protein or vegetables. She said because they did not harvest much last year, she's unable to provide nutritious food for her family.
If you harvest and there's no yield, how can you pay your children fees and give them nutritious meals?
Even though the issue of land scarcity and continuous farming are issues, some women have adopted smart agricultural practice which is yielding results. We join Abubakar Swiba on her farm. She narrates what she's been doing to ensure her farm is fertile.
They taught us how to use grass, waste, and cow dung to make our farms fertile. And my tomatoes, okra, ayoyo, and more are growing so well.
Swiba said this has helped her to provide a balanced meal for her family each day.
You see our vegetables from the farm. When you cut it and add canton, our local spice, and cook, it's so delicious. You will eat and want more. It's so healthy.
Mr. Wayo also talked of how Ghana's policy on climate change can help in addressing these concerns.
I just spoke about the climate smart agriculture as a policy under our climate change policies in Ghana. And under climate smart agriculture, we have climate smart agricultural practices that we encourage farmers to adopt. So at the end of the day, the adoption of such practices to an extent is expensive or comes with money. And the absence of the wherewithal to adopt these practices means that we are going nowhere at the end of the day, even though the policy is present and available. I recommend that the government of the day or governments should try as much as they can to subsidize and to help farmers with some levels of credits and grants that will help them adopt these technologies so that at the end of the day, we are doing what we should be doing and getting the results we are supposed to be getting.
Food security and nutrition are closely linked to land ownership and climate resilience. Therefore, when women have control over land and knowledge on smart agricultural practice, they can grow diverse, nutritious crops to feed their families. For Joy News, I am Martina Bugre reporting.
This story is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with CDK in Ghana.
You're welcome back. Nearly 2 months after violent clashes over farmer-header tensions led to the attack at the Kwame Danso District Police Station and Courthouse by angry mob, the absence of law enforcement and judicial services has created a security vacuum in the Sine West District capital. With crime rising and disputes unresolved, residents now live in growing uncertainty as traditional leaders take rebuilding into their own hands, hoping to pave the way for the return to the state. Anas Sabit reports.
This is Kwame Danso, the capital of the Sine West District, but as you can see in this shot, the district police station is a shell. Its gates are locked not to keep people out, but because there is no one inside to keep. The story of how this happened is one of tension. The story of what happens now is one of profound consequence. The unrest here dates back to long-standing simmering tension between local farmers and herders, a familiar conflict in many parts of the country. But here in Kwame Danso, those tensions eventually boiled over, spilling beyond the fields and into the very institutions meant to keep the peace. Prompted by these disputes, some youth groups stormed the district police station and the district court. The aftermath was devastating. Security personnel fled for their lives. Both facilities were extensively vandalized. The Inspector General of Police had no choice but to withdraw all officers from the district. The courts too were closed. Chiefs and elders of the community have condemned the action, but the deed was done. The law had left Kwame Danso.
We condemn the action of the perpetrators in no uncertain terms. We see the action of the perpetrators as an act of hooliganism and flagrant disregard to the rule of law.
Today, several weeks after the closures, the vacuum left behind has triggered a ripple effect of challenges. The immediate fear, a rise in crime.
Me tomo ben quarter no. Omo fa me be day first. Efa second. SM by ebe boom me container na anu ankasa. Efa me cylinder. Ena me spaghetti. Ena indomie box. Say there how be bre.
Without a functioning court, land disputes, family arguments, and contractual issues remain frozen in time with no resolution in sight, and the concept of emergency response has become a distant memory.
I think when it happened like that, we lamented so much about their actions, and they should desist from such attempts if opportunity is given to us that the police station is real.
The District Chief Executive for Sini West, Fusini Kari, confirms the District Security Council (DISEC) is actively working to mend the fragile relationship between farmers and herders, addressing the root cause.
We have put in place some measures to ensure that the farmer cattle struggle that has been there, at least we can stop it. We are also following at the District DISEC Committee closely the activities of these committees. And so currently that is what we are doing.
But the primary urgent concern for residents remains the return of permanent law enforcement. District Police Commander says operational team in Lalai is temporarily in charge of the entire area's security.
At the moment, we have some operational men at Lalai. They are the ones who have been taking temporal security situation within the town.
In a powerful move towards reconciliation, the Riasi Traditional Council decided not to wait. They have mobilized resources, funds, materials, and labor to physically renovate the damaged facilities.
God being so good, some of our chiefs are also supporting in this regard to renovate the police station and the courts to ensure that at least when the police return, we'll get them a very nice place to do their operations.
And so the plea from Kwame Danso is evolving. It has moved from anger to regret and now to a collective longing for restoration. And so Kwame Danso waits. It waits for carpenters to finish their work. It waits for DISEC to solidify peace. And most intently, it waits for the day when the gates here will be unlocked, not to let people out, but to let justice back in. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Kwame Danso.
Let's head to the Ashanti region now, where the management of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, has confirmed the death of one of its students following an incident that occurred over the weekend in Ayawaso, a suburb of Kumasi. The deceased, identified as Ransford Amankwa Asumeni, was a second-year student pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Agribusiness Management. According to an official statement issued by the university, preliminary reports indicate that Asumeni fell from the second floor of an off-campus hostel in the hours of Sunday, February 8, 2026. He was immediately rushed to the KNUST hospital by his colleagues with assistance from the KNUST District Police Patrol Team, but was pronounced dead on arrival. Let's read excerpts of that particular statement that has been received by the school authority, or released by the school authority, I should say. It says that the management of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has received with deep sadness the news of the death of one of its students, Mr. Ransford Amankwa Asumeni, a second-year student of the Bachelor of Science Agribusiness Management program. Management is saddened by this unfortunate incident and extends heartfelt condolences to the family of Ransford Asumeni and the entire university community. The KNUST Police, in collaboration with the University Security Services, has commenced investigations into the incident. Management will provide further updates to the media and the public as soon as all the facts are established. KNUST remains committed to the safety, security and well-being of all students and staff. Let's stay in the Ashanti Regional Capital and speak to my colleague Clinton Yeboah. Clinton, what more do we know about this unfortunate incident?
Kenneth, what we know currently is that parents of this have been duly notified of the incident. And not just that, these are those comments investigations into the incident, because it's one of the saddest incidents here campus the beginning of this year. And so management has taken up this specifically on the safety of students and has sent signals to all hostel management to ensure the safety of their students, because we understand that the seed fell from the second floor of a hostel. And so the management are admonishing both hostel managers and also students to uphold their own security in these campuses. We must understand that some of these campuses are off campus and so are off the radar of the KNUST security guards. And so security off campus are left to hostels, managers, and the accommodation facilities that students are in. And so the management is admonishing such hostels and facilities to take up the security measures and make sure that students who stay in such facilities and accommodation and facilities are also ensured and their facilities are also upheld.
Clinton Yeboah there with that update from the KNUST campus. Let's take you to the seat of government, where President Mahama has urged 5 newly commissioned ambassadors and a High Commissioner to ensure that their missions are welcoming and responsive to the concerns and issues of Ghanaians in the diaspora. Speaking at the commissioning ceremony at the Jubilee House, he called on them to offer compassionate assistance and to be humane in their dealings with citizens abroad.
I urge you to engage our diaspora with seriousness and empathy. The Ghanaian diaspora remains a vital national asset, contributing to our economy, projecting our culture, and supporting our national renewal. Therefore, let your missions be welcoming to them, be responsive to their issues, and humane, ensuring that every Ghanaian abroad receives professional and compassionate assistance. I also encourage you to work collegially with all staff of your respective missions and to foster harmonious, disciplined, and professional work environments in your missions. Effective leadership abroad begins with unity within the mission. As I commission you today, I do it with confidence in your competence and dedication. Ghana expects excellence, and so you must serve with purpose, and your tenure must be marked by results, stronger partnerships, expanded opportunities for our people, and a higher standing of our nation in the Committee of Nations.
The Ashanti Regional Caucus of the Minority in Parliament has called out the government over the decision to reduce the 4-tier Swami interchange project to a 2-tier. The project, approved by Parliament in July 2022, was to address severe traffic congestion in Swami, Krofrom, Bantama, Magazine and other areas in the Greater Kumasi area. Addressing journalists in Parliament, former Minister for Roads and Highways Francis Asensu-Boakye first condemned the decision, insisting that a 2-tier interchange will not address the challenge.
Reducing the Swami interchange from a 4-tier to 2-tier design fundamentally undermines the integrity of the project. A 2-tier solution will not eliminate traffic conflict points in Kumasi. It will not accommodate projected traffic growth. It it will simply shift congestion from one junction to another and to risk turning the Swami Interchange project into an expensive but ineffective bottleneck. More importantly, any attempt to construct only some levels instead of the full 4-tier design will require a revision of a completed design engineering designs, leading to unnecessary delays, cost overruns, technical compromises, and contractual complications. In urban transport engineering, under-designing is often worse than doing nothing at all.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Gavins Agboja, has firmly rejected claims by the NPP's Ashanti parliamentary caucus that the government downgraded the Swami Interchange from a 4-tier to a 2-tier structure due to funding constraints. According to the minister, the minority's assertions are inaccurate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, once again, we are very grateful to you for your continuous support for President Mahamad's programs that are intended to improve the lot of Ghanaians. I'm here today with my brother, my colleague, Honorable Suini, the Chief Director and the Directors of Highways, Feeder Road, and the Chief Executive of Highways, Director of Urban Road and Feeder Road, to address, first of all, an important issue that has been raised. Since President Mahamad's government took office, he made sure that all that he promised to do to improve the lot of Ghanaians are carried out the way he wants them to be carried out. With specific reference to the road ministry, his first direction was that, unlike 2017 when government took a policy position to suspend ongoing projects to conduct audit, he directed that no ongoing project should be suspended or cancelled for any reason. Rather, we should encourage contractors to continue to work, though we know that the reason many contractors were not working was because they were owed huge amounts of money and which were unpaid. And President Mahama has been working towards retiring many of those arrears since. I must use the opportunity to thank all those patriotic Ghanaians and contractors who continue to believe in the state and continue to be on site working to make sure that our roads improve day by day. This afternoon, our attention has been drawn to a statement issued by the former minister, my colleague in Parliament, Honorable Asenso Boachi. The date of the statement, which was issued today, was 9th April 2026, in itself, which is problematic because we are not yet in April, but that is the date on the statement. But he raised an issue that I think we should all pay attention to. In our view, roads are not political tools. Fortunately, roads are not virtual. When you build them, people see them. He raised an issue about Swami Interchange project, and the title was Swami Interchange, reducing a 4-tier solution to a 2-tier. Compromise is a disservice to Kumasi and Ghana. Background of this project: why the Swami Interchange was designed as a 4-tier. In the press statement, in his press statement, he sought to accuse government for deliberately trying to change the Swami Interchange from 4-tier to 2-tier interchange. They attempted to explain While the interchange was designed as a 4-tier project, however, it only emphasized the funding arrangement, the scope of works, and the challenges being faced at Swami intersection. I will not debate the issue raised, but rather urge those making the assertions to put the modifications in the right context, as context matters a lot in this. The Swami interchange location is a very critical intersection in the entire road network in Ghana, and not only in Kumasi. It serves as a major link between the north and south part of our country, as it is located on the national route N10 Ofinso Road. At the time of the design, it offered the only credible connection from the Ashanti region to the northern part of the country, as it is on the N10 and the start point of IR4 Mampong Road, the two main access to the northern region. It is also important to note that at the time of conception of this project, our options to the northern part of the country were limited, and the need to bring all connecting traffic to the intersection, therefore changing direction. Before changing direction, it is also worth noting that presently, His Excellency the President has authorized the construction of the Kumasi Outer Ring Road, and works have started under the Big Push program. The Kumasi Outer Ring Road commences at Atia Junction near Buankra and traverses the following towns: Joabin, Kasam, Tano Odumasi, Ahonjo, and finally ends at Akom on the N10. This new construction offers an even more appropriate connection from the N10 to Akom to N6 to Buankra, and shortens the travel time for vehicles traveling from northern part of the country to the southern part of the country, vice versa. Construction of the Kumasi Outer Ring Road will divert most of the traffic up north from the city center. Swami will therefore require less capacity than previously projected. As much as the original design was not arbitrary, it offered what it could based on the opportunities that existed at the time. And with the construction of the Outer Ring Road, an even more appropriate option is being offered. Key features of the original 4-tier Swami interchange. As indicated above, the design, even though was not arbitrary, was limited, and detailed cost-benefit analysis would reveal that the modifications being proposed is a superior solution to the challenges being faced there, as there will be less demolition and an increased length of total road being provided for the good people of Ashanti region. The key features of the 4-tier interchange are as follows. First tier is a runabout which offers all connections as it is. 2, the second tier is the bridge from Swami to Kijetia. The third tier is a bridge from Abrepo to Krofrom, and the 4th tier is a bridge from Swami all the way from Krofrom. In addition, there was an underpass at Abrepo Junction and an overpass at Krofrom Junction. These were to cater for all the possible movements. Challenges with the original design. The full cost of this project was not available to complete the works after Ghana declared default to our official creditors and went to the IMF to enable a restart of the project. It was put under the Afri-Exim facility, and after partial disbursement of an advance payment, no payment have been made to the contractor since then. The main challenge with the original design is not the functionality, but the expropriation cost. The fourth tier, as designed, was affecting a two-story building, stores along the Swami runabout, and the Western Bypass Road, and in addition to the Swami Police Station. It also was designed to traverse sections of the Kumasi Mall land, which also had complications in terms of impact and potential compensations. It is important to note that these costs were not included as part of the project costs as of the time the project started. It means it's an additional cost that we were supposed to fund. The project had not budgeted the full cost of relocating utilities, although the utilities like water and electricity at the runabout were eventually moved. There still remain more at Crofrom intersection and Abrepo. The project did not account for the full cost of land and property compensation. The north-south leg of the viaduct would have to be partially built on land owned by Garden City Mall, impact the Swami Police Station, and three-story commercial and residential buildings not budgeted for under the project. A rough estimate of the cost of this would be more than 50% of the total cost of construction of the fourth-tier interchange. The Garden City Mall owners had earlier indicated no objection to putting the foundation on their land. However, immediately after the 2024 election, their lawyers wrote to indicate an intention to sue the physically stop the Rango from using part of their land to store Jesse barriers, something they had no objection to earlier. Benefit of the modification. The modification would allow us to save those buildings and allow the businesses to thrive whilst offering a new first-class concrete road from Akom on the N1 to Bankra on the N6.
That's the Roads and Highways Minister Gavin Kwame Agboja there. And that's it for the Pulse. Thank you very much for your time this evening. My name is Kenneth Jesse. For more news, you can always log on to myjoyonline.com. The news team is back at 7 p.m. with Joy News Prime. Have a good evening.